The story opens on an old man coughing, his words a ragged whisper, "I am an earthling from a civilized society." Just then, a little girl enters his house carrying a bowl of food. Seeing his condition, she asks, "Mr. Seo, are you okay? My mother sent this for you." The old man, Seo, thanks her. As the girl places the food on the ground, she replies, "It's no problem. Please get well soon and make some more soap." With those words she leaves, disappearing into a swirling snowstorm. Seo is an earthling, an inhabitant of a civilized world. It has been 50 years since he fell into this cursed one. He, Director Kim, and other employees were on their way to a company workshop when a landslide swept them away. When they regained consciousness, they found themselves in a strange world filled with house-sized, three-tailed foxes, massive twin-headed snakes, and warriors who flew through the sky on swords. It was a world straight out of the martial arts novels he used to read. Most of his colleagues, it turned out, thrived. Within 3 days their destinies unfolded. Awed by their mythical talents, sage-like beings descended from the heavens and spirited them away. Only Seo and Director Kim were left behind. They, too, hoped for something special to happen, but neither of them possessed any remarkable abilities. Knowing little about this world, they resorted to manual labor. For 6 months, they worked menial jobs in a marketplace just to eat. One day, Director Kim declared he could no longer live like this. He spent all his money on a third-rate martial arts manual from a street vendor. Though everyone laughed, he mastered it in 3 months and became a martial artist. He rose through the ranks, learning increasingly advanced techniques until, as a powerful warrior, he left for the Jonghu, leaving Seo behind. Seo kept hoping for his own miracle, but it never came. 50 years later, he is just an old man, dying from a common cold, coughing up blood, and clinging to the memory of Earth. He had tried his best to survive. He learned the language, worked as a laborer, bought a small plot of land, and built a house. He even found modest success making and selling soap, a novelty in this medieval-style world. But that ended when thieves stole his formula, replicated it, and forced him out of the market. Now, he simply waits for death. Rejected by this world, a frustrated Seo cries out, "What do you want from me? I tried my hardest. So what more must I do?" He weeps, wondering why he was never chosen, why he was destined to lose everything. His energy fades and his eyelids grow heavy. As his consciousness slips away, he thinks that with just a little more power, he might have had a chance. Lying on his bed, sick and alone, Seo's life ends. And then, in a flash of brilliant light, he opens his eyes again. He looks down at his hands. They are not the wrinkled, gnarled hands of an old man, but are young and full of life. He is wearing the clothes from his old world, a blue shirt and sweatpants. He looks around and sees them all, Director Kim, Chief O, Section Chief John, and the others. It was in this moment of shock that Seo realized he hadn't been powerless after all. He had gained the ability of regression. This was his first one. Director Kim, his hair half-shaved, looks around in confusion. What's happening? We were just on our way to a workshop. He didn't know where they were, but Seo did. This was day 1. Seo vaguely recalled how they got here, an SUV, a landslide, a sudden flash. The 50-year-old memory was hazy. As he tried to piece it together, a voice called from behind. "Hey, Deputy Manager Seo," but Seo was lost in thought, a single question dominating his mind. Now that I've regressed, how should I live? In regression novels, Seo thought, people thrive using their future knowledge, but all I know is how to make soap. Suddenly, a hand grabbed his shoulder. "Manager Seo Yun-hyun," a voice shouted. The shout snapped Seo out of his daydream. He turned to see Section Chief John. "Sorry," Seo started. "I was just a bit startled." Swish. The sharp slap echoed, stinging Seo's face. Everyone stared in shock. "Deputy Manager Seo," John screamed. "You bastard, you dozed off at the wheel on a mountain road. You nearly got us all killed." Seo stood there dazed. The title Deputy Manager felt alien. He hadn't heard it in 50 years and didn't even realize John was talking to him. John's face was twisted with fury. "Do you want to lose your job the moment we get back?" The threat brought it all rushing back. Seo now remembered this man, Section Chief Jeon Myeong-hoon, a real son of a bitch. He was the nephew of the company's executive director and had snagged his position through pure nepotism. As John lunged at him again, Chief O stepped between them. "That's enough, John," Chief O said. It was a landslide. There was nothing he could have done. "Aren't you angry, Chief?" John retorted. This psycho was asleep at the wheel. "That's why we're in this mess." CO's memory sharpened. He had dozed off. But that was because John, who was originally supposed to drive, had dumped a week's worth of his own overdue work on CO the night before, forcing him to stay up all night. "This stupid bastard," John shrieked, pointing at CO. "We're stranded because of him." The memories of the next 50 years flooded CO's mind. He remembered how, back then, he had been so stunned that he simply apologized. He'd accepted the blame and spent the next half-century doing the same, apologizing to bandits who robbed him, to martial artists who mocked him, and to officials who taxed him into poverty. But living through that hell had taught him one thing. You only bow to those you can't handle. CO stood up straight. "Section Chief John," he said, his voice even. "I know you're upset, but now is not the time for pointing fingers." "You damn son of a bitch," John roared and swung a punch at his face. "Are you looking for a fight?" That punch sealed it. There was no need to kneel before a man like this. CO spun and drove his fist into John's face, sending him stumbling backward. The others gasped, their eyes wide with disbelief. CO didn't stop. He pounced, raining down blows. His past life had been a lesson in pain. He'd been beaten by martial artists, bandits, and corrupt officials. Now, pinning John to the ground, he realized that brutal world had given him a gift his colleagues lacked, a capacity for violence. He knew that a blow to the eyes amplifies fear. He knew that a beaten man instinctively utters two words. "I'm sorry," John choked out, just as CO knew he would. CO might not have mythical talents or world-shaking martial arts, but he finally had the power to change his fate. Director Kim, Chief O, and the others stared at him, their faces pale with fear. Director Kim found his voice first, though it trembled. "Deputy Manager CO, no matter the reason, how could you beat a colleague so brutally?" "You're right, Director Kim," CO replied calmly, not bothering to argue. "I lost my temper. I apologize for frightening everyone." Knowing he would never see them again, he bowed deeply to the group. "I was the one driving. I'm sorry I couldn't do more." Director Kim softened slightly. "Section Chief John was too harsh," he admitted. "You couldn't have prevented a landslide. He overreacted." Director Kim insisted that CO apologize to John. CO complied. He knew Director Kim was destined to become one of this world's strongest martial artists, and supporting him now could yield future benefits. Getting on his good side was the smart play. CO turned to John and offered a hand. "My reaction was uncalled for," he said, his voice flat. "I apologize." John, his face swollen and purple, looked ready to retaliate, but froze when he met CO's eyes. They were completely empty of fear. Once things settled down, Director Kim gestured toward the woods. "We should try to find a village." "That's the logical thing to do," CO agreed. Though he knew the truth. This was the Ascension Path, a forest in the land of Murim, where the only rule was that the strong devour the weak. Immortals and warriors fought for power and honor here. There were no villages for miles. "The sun is setting," CO said instead. "We should find a safe place to build a shelter for the night." Director Kim nodded. "But what about the car? We have a lot of supplies in there for the workshop." The car was gone forever, but CO knew they wouldn't believe him if he said so. Wasting his breath was pointless. "Let's split up," he suggested. "One team can look for the car, the other for shelter. We'll meet back here before dark." A few hours later, CO had a fire blazing inside a cave he'd found. As the group ate the root vegetables he had gathered, a black-haired girl voiced everyone's confusion. "I don't get it. We were in a car during a landslide. How did we end up here but the car didn't?" "This tastes like chestnuts," another girl commented. "Is it crunchy?" CO asked, smiling faintly. "There's plenty more, so eat as much as you'd like," Director Kim chuckled. "This is a serious situation, but thanks to Manager CO, it almost feels like fun. I always knew you were dependable." CO noticed John sulking in a corner, refusing to eat. Director Kim raised his voice slightly, ensuring John could hear. Manager Seo, if I recall, you were so tired because you worked late last night, right? He's right. A brown-haired girl chimed in. Their manager is incredibly diligent, and it feels like we're camping, thanks to the cave he found, added a red-haired girl. Seo knew they were right. In his past life, it took them hours of wandering aimlessly to find this cave. He just shrugged. I was lucky. They all laughed and told him to just accept the compliment. Seo allowed himself a small smile, soaking in the moment. It would be the last time any of them laughed together. The next morning, Seo was on his knees, trembling as he offered greetings to the Lord of the Forest. It was a colossal, seven-tailed fox with glowing red eyes. The fox smiled, a chilling sight. Human, it rumbled, its voice ancient. You have a unique scent. In my 1,000 years, I have never encountered one like it. The commotion woke the black-haired girl. What's going on? She asked as she stepped out of the cave. Her eyes fell on the fox, and a terrified scream ripped from her throat. Her shriek woke the others. One by one they emerged from the cave, their own screams joining hers as they saw the monstrous creature. Show some manners! Seo yelled at them over his shoulder. Get on your knees before the Lord of the Forest. The fox's smile widened. Every time I meet your kind, I am reminded how foolish and rude you are. Normally, I would tear you limb from limb. However, it purred, looking at Seo. Since one of you knows his place, I shall be merciful. Its red eyes swept over the terrified group. That said, you must pay a toll for trespassing in my territory. Offer me an arm, and I will permit you to live. The demand hung in the air, turning their fear to ice. Seo's own heart hammered against his ribs. He remembered this moment vividly from his past life. He remembered the screaming, the panic, and how the enraged fox had slaughtered them all. Seo felt a flicker of relief. At least this time, the fox appreciated his manners instead of immediately tearing them all to shreds. Licking its chops, the fox asked which of them would offer an arm. It's just one arm, Seo calculated. A small price to pay. Besides, he knew that the cultivators who would arrive in 2 days could easily heal a lost limb. He had even prepared a pain-dulling herb in advance. Steeling himself, Seo pushed up his sleeve and extended his trembling arm toward the beast. I will offer my arm, he announced. The others stared, shocked that he would sacrifice himself for them. You know your place, human, the fox rumbled, its maw opening wide. In return, I will make this quick. It lunged. A scream of pure agony tore from Seo's throat as the fox's jaws clamped down, severing his arm completely. His colleagues looked away, unable to watch the gruesome sight. Blinding pain consumed him. With tears streaming down his face, Seo fumbled for the herb with his remaining hand and shoved it into his mouth. After swallowing the arm whole, the fox seemed disappointed. I thought you might taste different, given your scent, it commented. But you are the same as any other human, worse even, with all the impurities in your blood. As the fox spoke, the herb began its work, dulling the excruciating pain and allowing Seo to think again. He bowed his head. I apologize that my offering was not to your liking. The fox was uninterested. You may remain in my territory for 7 days, it declared, as it turned to leave. My divinity will keep you from dying here. With a single powerful leap, it launched into the sky and vanished. The moment it was gone, the others rushed to Seo's side. Everyone inside, he grunted, staggering to his feet. I'll explain everything. Inside the cave, Seo told them what the fox had revealed to him earlier that morning. We are in a land called Murim. The name sent a shockwave through the group. Murim. Director Kim repeated in disbelief. Like in the stories. It doesn't matter, Seo said, his voice strained. What matters is that we are safe for 1 week because I paid the toll. Only a week. Director Kim pressed. What happens after that? Seo took a ragged breath. Next week, it will demand another price. Stunned silence fell over the group. As the herb's sedative effect grew stronger, Seo's eyelids became heavy. I'm going to rest, he mumbled, and promptly fell asleep. He awoke 15 hours later, alone in the dark cave. Outside he could hear his colleagues' hushed, angry voices. How can you even say that after he sacrificed his own arm? Chifo was demanding of Jeon. So what's the plan? Jeon shot back. Who's going to volunteer an arm or a leg every single week? Manager Seo is useful, Chifo argued. He found us food and this shelter. Exactly, Jeon said with cold logic. We learn everything we can from him for the next week. He's already lost an arm. He's not going to last long anyway. We make him the sacrifice again. Seo, listening from the shadows, felt a cold fury rise within him. Now that he was weak, Jeon saw him as nothing more than livestock to be periodically butchered for their survival. His hand closed around a fist-sized rock. With the brutality he had learned over 50 years, killing a soft modern man like Jeon would be easy, even with one arm. He watched as Jeon continued trying to persuade the others. He raised the rock, his knuckles white. The urge to act was overwhelming, but he held back. Killing Jeon now would be reckless. Fear was making them irrational, and a cruel act would permanently damage his standing with Director Kim. He let the rock drop and silently retreated into the cave. Suddenly, he heard Chifo's voice again, sharp and final. Shut your mouth, Jeon, unless you want your other ankle broken. A small, grim laugh escaped Seo's lips. He was right. They were good people, just trapped in an impossible situation. The next morning, as the sun climbed the sky, the group gathered outside the cave. This time, a monstrous two-headed snake slithered into view. Unlike the ravenous fox, the two-headed snake only requested a small amount of blood. Seo recognized it as the same creature that, in his past life, had preyed on Chifo after he'd lost his limbs. This time, hearing the modest demand, a nervous Chifo offered his own arm. The snake took a sip and immediately recoiled, vomiting onto the forest floor. Disgusting, it hissed. This is the worst human blood I have ever tasted. Chifo flushed with anger, but Seo knew the truth. The blood of a 21st century office worker, saturated with nicotine and cholesterol, must have been truly foul. Seo turned his attention elsewhere. Jeon Myeong-hoon, he called out. Come with me, we need to gather herbs. Jeon stared, shocked. Did you just use my full name? Ignoring the question, Seo asked simply, Are you hungry? When Jeon sullenly admitted he was, Seo walked over to him. I'll teach you which fruits and herbs are edible. He leaned in closer, his voice dropping to a whisper. I plan to offer my other arm to the fox next week. If I die, someone needs to know how to keep everyone else alive. The color drained from Jeon's face. He realized with dawning horror that Seo had overheard their conversation last night. Trapped, he had no choice but to agree. The thank you, Seo had to hide a smirk. Thank me, he thought. The fox isn't coming back, and you'll never get the chance to use this knowledge anyway. He led Jeon to a grove of fruit trees and began his tutelage. Jeon Myeong-hoon, Seo barked. How many times do I have to tell you? Not that one. Concentrate. So sorry, Jeon mumbled, reaching for a different fruit. That one will kill you, Seo said flatly. 4 hours, Seo relentlessly ordered Jeon around, forcing him to dig and forage. Exhausted, Jeon finally begged for a break, panting from the non-stop labor. A cold satisfaction settled over Seo. This was exactly how Jeon had hazed him when he first joined the company. We need to finish before dusk, Seo stated, offering no rest. Hurry up. As they worked, Jeon's shovel struck something large. He pulled it from the earth to reveal a massive gnarled root. This thing is huge, he exclaimed. Is this wild ginseng? Something like that, Seo replied vaguely. It was actually a yellow bamboo root. In the energy-rich soil of the ascension path, the normally pinky-sized roots grew to monstrous proportions. While useless to true cultivators, it was an incredibly precious herb for martial artists, capable of greatly increasing their internal ki. This will be perfect for Director Kim, Seo thought. They unearthed 2 more just like it. Is it really okay to take this much? Jeon asked. Awestruck. It's fine, Seo said. Take off your shirt and wrap them up. As Jeon complied, Seo glanced toward the horizon. He saw the sun dipping low and noticed a faint shimmering distortion in the air, a crack in space. It was almost time. The cultivators were coming. Let's head back, CO announced. As they neared the cave, the shimmering crack in space exploded. A shockwave of pure spiritual energy erupted into the sky, and at that instant, Jeon collapsed, clutching his head and screaming. Chief O and Manager Kong dropped to the ground alongside him, all three writhing in agony. What's happening to them? Director Kim cried in panic. Just then, three figures descended from the sky. The first, a man in radiant gold robes named Byuk-ho, surveyed the screaming trio. What a surprise, he mused. To think we'd find such raw talent here. Back off, Byuk-ho, snarled a second man in black robes, Hyogwak. They are mine. Shameless, scoffed the third, who wore brilliant blue. Terrified, Director Kim stammered. The cultivators ignored him, their eyes scanning the group and dismissing the mortals. Only three possessed spiritual roots. Byuk-ho raised a hand, and a crackling ball of lightning formed in his palm. He launched it at Jeon, whose screams intensified as thousands of volts coursed through him. When the assault ceased, Byuk-ho looked amazed. Incredible, the physique of heavenly golden thunder. My turn, Hyogwak said, pushing past him. He produced a strange musical instrument and began to play. Manager Kong, hands clamped over her ears, let out a shriek so powerful it echoed through the entire forest. Hyogwak's eyes widened with excitement. The ghostly Een, transforming a mortal root. I never thought I'd see one in person. Finally, the cultivator in blue landed softly on the ground. He placed a hand on Chief Ho's shoulder, injecting a stream of spiritual energy into him. A unique holy body, he determined. What is going on? Chief Ho gasped, overwhelmed. The cultivator smiled. All three of you possess the talent to change the world. I will take you as disciples of the Azure Heaven Creation Sect. How does that sound? Chief Ho felt as though the man's very presence could crush him. He couldn't breathe, let alone refuse. Before he could answer, Hyogwak swooped down. Join the Black Ghost Valley instead. We offer immortality, the power to overturn the heavens, fame and wealth. I will see to it you have it all within a century. Buko descended as well. What nonsense are you spouting? The Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder Sect is clearly the most suitable for them. As they argued, Director Kim stepped forward desperately. Please, can you just get us out of this forest? We'll all die here. They ignored him as if he were air. Buko uncapped a small bottle. Mortals worry far too much, he said with disdain, looking at Director Kim. How did you even reach the ascension path with such worthless bodies? He aimed the bottle at Jeon, who was sucked inside with a final desperate scream for help. The blue-robed cultivator prepared to leave with Chief Ho but paused to look at CO. A small smile touched his lips. It seems one of you lost an arm to that fox. Judging by the wound, he offered it willingly. He gestured, and a wave of power washed over CO. You may be a mere mortal, but you have guts. CO stared as his arm completely regenerated. The thank you. After Hyogwak had likewise secured Manager Kong, the three cultivators rose into the air. As they departed, their voices echoed back. We have cleared the ascension path of all beasts on our way here. It should be safe for the next 10 years. Wait. Director Kim shouted, chasing futilely after them. Hold on. Where do we go? Which way is out? He called their names. Jeon, Chief Ho, Kong. But it was useless. They vanished into the sky. A wave of familiar disappointment washed over CO. It had been the exact same 50 years ago. No matter how much they begged, the cultivators had treated them like insects. Still, he was relieved to have his arm back. Director Kim finally collapsed, gasping for breath. What are we supposed to do now? He despaired. But just as all hope seemed lost, he saw dozens more beams of light streaking across the sky. Following the same path the cultivators had taken, Director Kim watched the lights confused. What are all those streaks in the sky? He wondered aloud. Is something over there? Despite the mysterious sight, he couldn't abandon his team, so he turned back to the cave. The next day brought a fierce thunderstorm, with lightning cracking all around. The remaining four, Director Kim, Manager Kim, Deputy Manager O, and CO huddled together in the cave for shelter. Deputy Manager O's condition was worsening. She lay on the cold ground, coughing up blood. "CO, is there some kind of herb we can find?" Manager Kim asked desperately, her voice filled with panic. "She's in terrible shape." Knowing what was to come, CO answered calmly. "Let's just wait a little longer. Someone might show up to heal her." Manager Kim gave him a bewildered look. Just then, the sound of footsteps echoed from the cave entrance. A figure emerged from the rain-swept darkness. "Mortals in the ascension path." The stranger's voice resonated through the cave. "Are like ants caught in a battle between dragons." Director Kim immediately leaped in front of the others, shielding them. "Who are you?" he demanded. The man smiled, his presence filling the small space. "I am the Sea Dragon King, Co Weol. The woman is controlling the storm," Co Weol announced. Everyone stared in shock. "This tempest appeared from nothing," the Sea Dragon King explained, gesturing to the unconscious deputy manager O. "She is the cause. She must be a master of storm sorcery." He looked intrigued, and yet, she is an ordinary mortal, without a trace of cultivation. How can she wield such power and unconsciously at that? Very strange. "We are the ones who are confused," CO interjected. "We've only been here a short time, yet one powerful being after another shows up and takes our companions away." The Sea Dragon King broke into laughter. "Are you telling me that you stumbled into this world with several colleagues of extraordinary potential?" Then, as if on cue, powerful cultivators appeared to claim them. "And now, here I am, conveniently standing before this woman." "That's exactly what happened," CO confirmed. The Sea Dragon King smiled. "Dear mortal, do you know where you are? This is the Ascension Path, the gateway to the upper realm. In a few months, a dimensional rift, the Ascension Gate, will open nearby. This only happens once every 1,000 years. Countless cultivators and spiritual beings are already gathering here to ascend. Is it really so surprising that you would cross paths with us?" The explanation finally clicked for CO, but Director Kim was still confused. "Those cultivators said they were taking our colleagues to join their sections. How can they do that if they're all ascending to another realm? A concept likely difficult for a mortal to grasp," CO Whale said patiently. He produced a bottle, similar to the one Buko had used. "We have techniques to shrink vast structures and store them in magical tools like this. Those cultivators have likely stored their entire sects in such items, intending to bring everyone to the upper realm with them." In fact, he added, patting his own bottle, "I have one of the undersea castles of my Sea Dragon clan stored right here. 1,800 of my kin lie dormant inside." CO and Director Kim's jaws dropped. The Sea Dragon King gently patted Deputy Manager O's head. "So peculiar. So intriguing. If she joins my clan, she could become something truly extraordinary. Get away from her!" Director Kim shouted, lunging forward. He was instantly slammed to his knees, pinned by an immense invisible force. Every time he struggled, the pressure intensified. CO Whale lifted Deputy Manager O into his arms. "I will give her my blood and accept her as my kin. This is the best outcome for all of you." He then turned his glowing green eyes on Director Kim. "A piece of advice. Do not ask questions of high-level cultivators." As he spoke, the pressure on Director Kim and CO doubled, feeling as if their very eyeballs would pop from their sockets. "I answered your questions out of generosity," the Sea Dragon King said. Walking toward the mouth of the cave, "Most would have killed you for the impertinence." With that, he stepped into the raging storm and his form exploded into that of a colossal dragon that seemed to touch the clouds. With a deafening roar, he soared into the sky. The next morning, the storm was gone, replaced by clear, quiet skies. The silence was too much for Manager Kim. The avalanche, the monsters, the immortals, the abductions, it all crashed down on her at once. She began to lose her grip on reality. CO approached her gently. "Manager Kim." She grabbed his arm, her body shaking uncontrollably. "Manager CO, please," she begged, tears streaming down her face. "They can't take you too. If you're gone, I can't survive here alone." CO wanted to promise her he would stay, to offer some small comfort. But looking at her devastated face, he knew. Unfortunately, their time was up. Just then, Manager Kim screamed, clutching her head. She collapsed to the ground, her eyes wide with terror. "Something's coming," she shrieked. Director Kim rushed to her side. "What's wrong with her now?" Suddenly, the entire jungle erupted into chaos. Birds screeched from the sky and animals fled in a panicked stampede. Manager Kim trembled violently, gasping a single word. Before a confused Director Kim could react, an old man astride a great mechanical lion appeared before them. He looked down, shocked. Mortals! How did mere mortals find their way to the ascension path? He studied them for a moment, then chuckled. "Ah, I see, the space around the ascension gate becomes unstable just before it opens. You must have been caught in a spatial storm." He laughed heartily, praising his own genius. Dismounting his lion, he approached the group. "Now, which one of you just emitted that massive wave of consciousness? It was so powerful, I thought a sage from the upper realm had descended." His eyes fell on the whimpering Manager Kim. "Was it her?" "Who are you?" Director Kim demanded, stepping between the old man and Manager Kim. "She's our colleague." With a casual flick of his finger, the old man sent Director Kim flying. SEO reacted instantly, lunging to catch his friend. He managed to break Director Kim's fall, but the force sent them both crashing violently to the ground. "Thanks, Deputy Manager CO," Director Kim said, scrambling to his feet, unharmed. CO didn't respond. Panicked, Director Kim helped him up and gasped. The back of CO's shirt was torn to shreds, revealing a raw, bloody injury from the impact. "CO, are you all right?" CO managed, his voice strained with pain. The old man ignored them completely. He strode over to Manager Kim and tilted her chin up with his fingers. "Child, let me take you as my disciple. You have no spiritual root, but I can awaken one for you." "I wonder," he mused to himself, "what would happen if such a unique consciousness were to evolve into a cultivator's divine sense?" Tears streamed down Manager Kim's face as she looked desperately toward CO and Director Kim for help. The old man followed her gaze and scoffed. "Still clinging to worldly attachments, even after I have offered to take you in," the old man's eyes flashed with anger. With a gesture, an invisible force seized CO and Director Kim by the neck, hoisting them into the air. They clawed at their throats, struggling to breathe. "I will sever your worldly attachments for you," the old man told Manager Kim coolly. Seeing her friends choking, Manager Kim grew hysterical. "Please stop," she begged, tears streaming down her face. "I'll do anything you ask, just spare them." "Then you must forget them," the old man commanded. "I will, I understand," she sobbed. Satisfied, the old man released his grip, and CO and Director Kim dropped to the ground gasping for air. "But leaving them here will only prolong your attachment," the old man mused. "I shall return them to a mortal nation." He waved his hand, and a swirling vortex of energy tore open the space before them. "Your colleagues will be scattered through this dimensional rift," he informed Manager Kim. "Not even I will know where they land." Portal's pull was immediate and overwhelming. Director Kim was sucked in before he could even comprehend what was happening. In the split second before he too was consumed, CO lunged, grabbing the precious bundle of herbs he had collected. Then, he was gone. Manager Kim could only watch and cry as the portal snapped shut, plunging everything into darkness. Then, sound rushed in. The din of a crowd, the cry of a street vendor, finest silks in all of Yonghwa, newly arrived scriptures from Shungji. CO was the first to wake, finding himself and an unconscious Director Kim, sprawled on the cobblestones of an alleyway. He stumbled to his feet and peered out at a bustling street filled with unfamiliar faces. "Where am I?" he wondered. This wasn't the place he had landed in his first life. The old man had been telling the truth. Their destination was random. He stepped out of the alley, and a strange sense of déjà vu washed over him. He scanned his surroundings, his eyes landing on a massive, 10-story pagoda that dominated the skyline. Recognition struck him like a physical blow. He knew this place. He had lived here for 50 years. This was Seokyung, the capital city of the Yonghwa nation. After taking in the scene, he returned to the alley and roused Director Kim. "Manager CO," Director Kim groaned, his expression exhausted and bewildered. "I can't keep up with any of this anymore." CO sat beside him. "I feel the same way," he admitted. "I wish this was all just a dream." "It's just the two of us now," Director Kim said, a note of disbelief in his voice. But, I guess we should be grateful we weren't taken by those monsters. Seo remained silent. Even with his knowledge of the future, this was uncharted territory. In his past life, he was just a powerless herb gatherer. He knew nothing of this new beginning. We can't stay here forever. Seo finally said, let's get out of this alley. Director Kim agreed, and the two of them stepped onto the main street. Immediately, they became the center of attention. People stared, pointing and whispering to each other in a language Director Kim didn't understand. What are they saying? He asked Seo, unnerved. It sounds like Chinese. Why is everyone staring at us? They're saying our clothes look funny, Seo told him calmly. Director Kim replied, shocked. Seo managed a small smile. Don't worry, I know a bit of Chinese. Director Kim opened his mouth to ask another question, but seeing the bloody state of Seo's back, he held his tongue and simply said, it was a lie of course. The local language used similar characters to Chinese, but the pronunciation was completely different. In his past life, Seo had endured 2 months of ridicule from beggars just to learn the basics. This time, there was no need for that. He produced the massive roots he'd salvaged. Should we get some new clothes? Director Kim looked confused. Oh. I doubt they'll take our money. Without explaining, Seo led him straight to the city's largest medicine hall. The owner's eyes went wide at the sight of the herbs. Are you really selling something so precious? He stammered. Seo put on a tough front. These yellow bamboo roots are at least 800 years old, he declared. Of course, the owner agreed, his hands trembling slightly. These are worth at least 15 silver ingots. The sum made even Seo's heart skip a beat. He'd never held that much money in his entire past life. He maintained his composure. Then hurry up and pay us. Yes. The owner quickly counted out the silver. With their newfound wealth, they bought new clothes and, to Director Kim's astonishment, a small house. We're going to live here? He asked, dumbfounded. Yes, Seo confirmed. And from today, I'll teach you the language. Director Kim beamed, thanking him profusely. Seo acted as if everything was fine, but after bribing some officials for identity plaques and purchasing the house, they were left with just a single silver ingot. The capital is an expensive place, he thought grimly. Later, Director Kim noticed that the back of Seo's new shirt was already stained red with blood. Seeing how much Seo had done for him, an idea struck him. Since we're starting over in a new place, he began. Why don't you just call me by my name? Seo looked up, surprised. If you're okay with that, Director Kim smiled warmly. Thank you, Seo Yun-hyun. That night, after they had settled in, Seo laid out the 2 remaining roots on the table. I sold one of these to get us started, he explained. But once these are gone, we'll have no income. We need to figure out a way to earn money. Director Kim stared at the roots, his mind racing. Suddenly, his eyes lit up. Let's sell the others, he proposed, and use the silver to start a business. It was a good plan. With their capital and Director Kim's business acumen from his former life, they could certainly make a living. But Seo found himself thinking, is making a living enough? I've regressed. Shouldn't I dream bigger than that? Seo knew Director Kim was a martial genius. In his past life, the man had become a master in months just by reading a third-rate manual. With proper training, he became one of the most powerful men in the Jonghu. But what if, Seo thought, he learned advanced techniques from the very beginning? A smile crept onto his face. He could accelerate the birth of the world's greatest swordsman by 30 years and reap the benefits himself. Director Kim, Seo began, this world is called murim. It's a world of martial arts. The words instantly caught his friend's attention. If we set up a business, who knows when some gang might come after us? Shouldn't we at least learn some self-defense? Director Kim's face lit up. Martial arts. He repeated, his voice full of excitement. But the sects don't teach outsiders. How would we learn? Seo hit a grin. As a former murim novel nerd, he knew exactly how to hook him. This city has 7 major sects, he explained. On the orthodox side, you have the demon-slaying sect, the self-binding temple, the suppressing birdhouse, and the 7 mysteries sect. On the unorthodox side are the Wolfang gang, the Dark Knight Association, and the dragon-fighting stronghold. The orthodox are called the 4 stars, the unorthodox, the 3 demons. He continued, the demon-slaying sect focuses on sword and blade techniques, the self-binding temple is Buddhist, the suppressing birdhouse specializes in intelligence, and the 7 mysteries sect teaches a bit of everything. Not much is known about the 3 demons, other than that they're masters of stealth and sorcery. CO paused. So, which one do you like? Without a moment's hesitation, Director Kim replied, the demon-slaying sect. A true martial artist wields a blade. It was a fitting choice for the man who would one day be called the world's greatest swordsman. How do you know all this? Director Kim asked, suddenly suspicious. CO just laughed. I overheard some martial artists talking earlier. 3 months later, after selling the last of the roots, they stood before the gates of the demon-slaying sect. A muscular guard blocked their path. What do you want? My older brother and I have heard of the sect's fame and wish to learn its martial arts, CO said politely. The guard eyed their fine clothes but scoffed. He's a bit old to start learning, the guard said, gesturing to Director Kim. CO discreetly pressed a silver coin into the guard's hand. Could we perhaps speak to someone of higher status? Even simple self-defense training would be enough. The bribe worked. The guard led them inside to meet with a sect elder. You wish to learn self-defense? The elder asked. You wish to learn the best you have to offer, CO declared, placing a heavy box of silver on the table between them. The elder's eyes widened at the sight of the glittering nuggets. Very well, the elder conceded. I suppose one of you may join as an external disciple. He pocketed the silver. But know this. We offer no special treatment for donations. And we will only accept one of you. CO was stunned. All that silver, the price of a priceless bamboo root, for a single, unsupported disciple slot. Director Kim looked outraged, ready to protest, but CO quickly cut him off. We accept, CO said with a bow. My brother will be the one to learn. Director Kim stared at him, speechless. As the elder left, he instructed Director Kim to join the other external disciples in the training yard. Once he was gone, Director Kim turned on CO. What's the point if only I'm learning? If I'd known it was this expensive, I would have chosen another sect. Don't worry about it, CO said with a reassuring smile. I was never good at sports anyway. I'll use the remaining money to start a business and support you. You just focus on mastering the sword. Director Kim was floored by the sacrifice. I'll do my best, he promised, though his voice was hesitant. I don't know if I can do it. Believe in yourself, CO said firmly. You can. With a final grateful nod, Director Kim headed for the training yard. 7 months later, the demon-slaying sect was in an uproar. At an internal competition, an outsider, a man who had only been training for 7 months, had single-handedly defeated every one of their prized disciples. The sect elders watched from their platform, their faces a mixture of fury and disbelief. Mastering a martial art requires a deep understanding of its core principles and a body perfectly attuned to its movements. But some talents are so profound they seem to laugh at the conventional process, soaring through stages that take others decades to cross. The demon-slaying sect, the greatest sect in Seokyung, was filled with such talents. Yet, an outsider had just defeated them all. In a mere 7 months, Director Kim had not only learned their absolute dragon saber technique, but had become a first-rate warrior. The Grand Elder was furious. Reaching the first-rate stage was thought to be impossible, without years of dedicated training, let alone for an outsider who had joined with a simple donation. It was a humiliation. It looked as though the sect's proud tradition had knelt before one man. He immediately ordered Director Kim to be captured. Now, Director Kim was imprisoned in a guarded house, suspected of being a spy. And for some reason, CO was imprisoned with him. Aren't you worried? CO asked, watching Director Kim calmly practice his sword forms. Director Kim just laughed. About what? About being a suspected spy, CO exclaimed. In the novels, they destroy your key core for something like this. True, Director Kim admitted, pausing his practice. But for some reason, I feel like I'm about to break through another wall. If I can just cross it, I think I can reach the next stage. CO stared at him, dumbfounded. Backslash, what kind of monster are you? You just became a first-rate warrior and you're already nearing the next level. That next level was martial peak, a stage reached only by sect leaders and the most powerful elders. In the entire nation of Yonggwa, only 1,000 so-called absolute masters had attained it. For all practical purposes, it was the final stage of martial arts. Seo's initial estimate had been wrong. This wouldn't speed up the birth of the world's greatest swordsman by 30 years. It would be closer to 40. For 7 days they remained in captivity. Director Kim spent every waking moment meditating and practicing. On the 7th day, the QE he had gathered coalesced above his head, forming 3 ethereal lotus flowers made of pure energy. Seo watched in awe. These were the flowers of Qi, a phenomenon only witnessed when a martial artist reached the absolute peak. Director Kim inhaled and the lotuses dissolved into his body. He stood up, a newfound power radiating from him. Backslash, I've crossed the barrier, he said, a confident smile on his face. I'm not so afraid of the demon-slaying sect's leader anymore. Seo could only laugh. Your talent is beyond anything I could have imagined. Backslash, I'm impressed with myself too, Director Kim admitted. I never knew I had it in me. Maybe that's why I always loved those martial arts novels. Just then, the door burst open. An elder, flanked by a squad of guards, strode in. Backslash, here comes Jeon Myeong-hoon and his comrade, he announced, unfurling a scroll. By order of the sect leader, we are to destroy the key core of the spy who dared to steal the martial arts of the demon-slaying sect. Director Kim's expression hardened. Seo, terrified, tried to explain. Backslash, wait, we're not spies. We were just backslash you 2014 foot the elder backhanded him across the face. Backslash, silence. We have witnesses who heard you speaking in a strange, coded language. He gestured to his men. Backslash, restrain them. But before the guards could move, Director Kim's sword was in his hand. In a flash of steel too fast to follow, the elder's sword hand was severed, his own weapon clattering to the floor. The room froze. Director Kim leveled his blade at the stunned elder's throat. Backslash, this is the first sect I have ever joined, he said, his voice cold as ice. I am no spy.